I'm here with Michelle Paisley Reed from Mpower Pilates. Hi, Michelle. How are you?
Well, hi, Emery. Thank you for having me on your show.
Well, you're welcome. I'm so excited to be here with you in this wonderful studio.
Thank you
Just
so
feels
much.
at such peace when I come here.
I'm so blessed and grateful. I love it here.
So can you please tell me about your journey? Like, how did Mpower Pilates come about?
It's quite a journey. Well, you want me to go way back for when I started Pilates or just the studio here?
So just the studio here. So kind of an overview of why Pilates for you,
Yes.
and then why Altea, and then why Mpower Pilates in Altea.
Okay. So I taught yoga for many, many years, 20 some odd years, and owned a yoga studio in California. Wrote a yoga book, did all things yoga. Loved it, loved it, loved it. It was my everything. And then more recently, about a few years ago, I was having back issues, and yoga was actually hurting me. I was taking yoga classes at the time. And so something told me something was wrong. So I went to my chiropractor, who referred me out. Long story short, I had cysts in my spine. And thank goodness I had the intuitive heads up, because very quickly I had them taken out after a week. I was paralyzed. I was in a wheelchair, could not walk. I was taking a Zumba class and I kept falling. I didn't have pain, I just kept falling. And so they said, yeah, I was an overachiever. I had the biggest egg in my back, biggest of his 30-year career, which I sensed, since I feel like I probably manifested it. Of course I did. It was trauma. Anyway, they removed it. And I was in bed and I had to do home health care. I felt like it wasn't enough. And so I had done Pilates many years before. In fact, I had subbed for Pilates, even though I wasn't certified in it, because it was similar enough to yoga. So I'd throw a couple hundreds in there, some core work, and call it, they wanted me to work for them at the time. I didn't feel called to do it. So anyway, started working with a teacher doing one-on-one private lessons, even though I could barely walk. And it was just such an amazing rebalance. Even my neurosurgeon was like, oh my God, what are you doing? Because usually the surgery takes 9 months to a year to even walk. And after 3 months, I was not just walking, but I just was doing Pilates like 3-4 times a week. And I just getting stronger and stronger, and to the point where, I couldn't even do a bridge pose, if you know, in yoga. I would tell my butt to lift and it would not lift. And I've been doing bridges for 30 years. So it was a miracle. And at the time I was in some corporate job I didn't like. And so I had left that. And I went through Pilates teacher training. I right away, of course, synchronistically, teamed up with an online teacher, bought some inexpensive equipment, did it from home because there was a lot of things I had to modify. But she was about my age and had similar injuries, and said, hey, you're going to be a better teacher because of this, because you're going to get a lot of people that are injured, and you know what that's like, and you can help them regain their health too. So did that in record time. It was supposed to be like a 2-year program, but I already knew anatomy from being a massage therapist. I was a massage therapist for many years too, and a yoga teacher, and I taught anatomy. Because it was online, I passed all the tests really quick, and then I'd have to pass them online. And then I felt like you pass teacher training and it wasn't enough. And so I was on the lookout for someone to kind of take me under their wing and mentor me. And so I went to this place called Pilates Group, and they were amazing. And the owner took me right away from my background. And the manager, Jen, who was incredible, I literally just watched her and assisted her for months until they gave me a job. And at the same time, out of the blue, someone came to me online and were looking for a teacher. It paid like twice as much as they normally pay Pilates teachers. So I had 2 studio jobs, and both were very different styles. So I felt like I learned tremendously during this time. So I did that for another couple years. And then I decided I wanted to move to Spain. That's a long journey in of itself. My daughter had moved to Barcelona 5 years ago, and so we had been coming to Spain. I knew I always wanted to live abroad my whole life. I just didn't know where. And so we did a scouting trip about 1.5 years ago, and my daughter said, I think you'll like Alicante because it just seems your speed. because I need to be by the beach, I need to be by the mountains, and she had been here on vacation, and she's like, I really think that you're gonna like Alicante, because Barcelona is a little too big of a city to live for me. So we started in Alicante proper, because there's an Alicante city, if you're not aware of this area, and then there's an Alicante region, of which we still live. So we just took the tram every day, and just kept going further up the coast, and the moment I stepped foot in Altea, and I hadn't even seen anything. I stepped off the train. I had full body goosebumps. And I looked at my husband and I said, this is it. Are you feeling it? And he's like, look at my goosebumps. And we're like, okay, this is it. Now, of course, we did due diligence, and we came back because my daughter was with us, and she was trying to talk us into Alicante because that's what she wanted. But I'm like, it's not really feeling it. So we rented a hostel, the Hostel Karma, how funny is that? And we rode e-bikes all over for 3 days and pretended we lived here. So not just as vacationers, but like we went to the grocery store and felt how would it feel like to live here. And I was sold. I was like, it doesn't take me long. My husband's a little slower but he was like, this is amazing. So we called an immigration attorney from Alicante. And from there, everything just, I'm not even kidding, happened so fast that you know it was meant to be, because usually those bureaucratic things are notorious, they take a long time. So that was in November. We moved in April. All our paperwork came together. I had to leave my jobs, which was the saddest part, because I finally found, my favorite job ever was my yoga job. And this was similar but different. And I loved all the equipment. I loved that it never got boring. I loved that there was always more for me to learn. And I could incorporate some of my yoga and my massage. So, but then I thought I was just open. There was plenty to do to get used to in moving here. But then, again, we were in an Airbnb for like a month. And I knew the day that we were looking at our long-term rental, before we saw it, I said, this is going to be where we're going to live. And my husband knows me, knows I'm intuitive, and he didn't even question me. I'm just like, be ready to act on this. And so we did, thank goodness. And got amazing, it's perfect now. It's a temporary home. I do still want to buy, but that's, you know this, Anne-Marie. That is happening. So I decided I was missing my reformer. My back was hurting again, and I'm like, I can't be doing this. We're moving stuff, and I tried to get into classes, and for whatever reason, people were not calling me back. I couldn't even schedule a class. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to take this personal. This is just a sign that I need to do my own thing. And so I jumped in and bought a very expensive commercial grade reformer. And my husband was like, again, believed in me, thank goodness. And we were just going to I had a third bedroom. And so I thought, well, it'll be a guest room, but it'll also be my Pilates room. And maybe I'll take some clients. That was what I was thinking. And then we got the equipment, record time, and there was a gym beneath, one floor underneath my building. A lot of businesses in Spain have them. And so everything in me said, ask someone in there for help. And my husband, of course, he's a guy, and he's like, we don't need help. And I'm like, it's not that we need it. Trust me. I'm supposed to ask someone in there. So again, he knows my intuition. So we went in there, and it just so happened to be the owner who was right there. And I didn't know if he spoke English, because of course my Spanish at this point, I'm better, but I'm learning. Estoy aprendiendo español. So he offered to help, and it turns out he had just had hernia surgery. So he's really curious about Pilates. And he's like, oh, I had a massage room here and they left. If you want, instead of being in your home, you can come here. And he's like, think about it. And I'm like, all right. So I sat with it a few days, and I'm like, well, this just landed in my lap, and this is way too easy. So we moved my reformer into this spot, and it wasn't ideal. It was small and kind of noisy in a gym environment. It was just not a perfect environment, but I met the best people right away. I met Rachel Rose, a massage therapist, who my studio is now right next to. And she introduced me to all her clients, because she too is a massage therapist. She knew I knew what I was talking about. And it just blossomed. It got way bigger than I thought right away. And we're talking in the summer months when everything's dead here. And so I was kind of open to getting a new studio, but again, there was something in me holding back because I kept thinking, do I want a whole big business? Do I want to expand that fast? But again, I was trying not to overthink it and just say, it's going to unfold as it's supposed to unfold. And that's exactly how it did. So Rachel told me there was a space in her building that was in a great location. I should come look at it. And again, I should have listened to it in the beginning. I was resistant and I didn't go. I made an appointment and then it didn't rent. And so then something told me, just look at it. So we came here and looked at it and was like blown away because it had all this shelving, which is great for storage. The floors were brand new, which is one thing I was really wanting. Had heating and air conditioning, which in Spain is rare. And you get hot doing Pilates. And so, it just fell into place so quickly. I was gonna wait and move in January because that's everybody's resolutions. Let's just say circumstances pushed me to change quicker than I thought. And we moved it all in by mid-December, and it's gorgeous, it's quiet. I have had all kinds of new clients. The ones that I started with have followed me, and it's just, it's an example of what can unfold when you don't grip too tightly, because I didn't have this exact vision. I just remember how it felt when I owned my yoga studio and how amazing that was, and that I could do this again and have my story to tell. I mean, because when people say to me, I have a bad back, I have a bad neck, I have this, that, I was in a wheelchair. A few years later, I opened a studio in Spain, so you never know what's possible, and here I am. Here we are.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So for you, it's mostly driven by your passion to help people then, and to help people in a position, whether they have health. I think you do everything. So you do it from, if you're dropping in as a visitor all the way to someone that's healthy and fit to someone that...
To level up.
Yeah, or someone that really needs a little bit TLC because they've been struggling with their health. So you're kind of really diverse, and I think your background really helps that between the massage, the yoga, and the Pilates, right, as well.
Well, and I'm also trained in hypnotherapy. I mean, I'm certified Reiki healer, level 4. I've done a sound bath healer. I've done a lot of things, but this is just kind of a place that when people show up, I pull things out of my toolbox. I show up for them. I'm here 100%, as people were for me. And so it feels like a kind of karmic giving back. And it feels good to be part of this community. Altea means healing.
Yeah.
The name means healing. And it's got a really wonderful healing community. And I feel like when you give that to people, that's how the word spreads. They tell their family. I have work on whole families now. And I have people that are hardcore athletes that want to step up their game, or maybe they want a stronger core because a lot of weight training neglects the core area. And that's what, it's known for with Pilates. But yeah, if someone comes in and they're super fit and they're like, you know what? I really need to stretch today. I'm just tired, or maybe I did leg day yesterday. Okay, well, we'll work with this. So I have enough experience now that I can be adaptable. I mean, when I was a new teacher, that would have been a real struggle because you know your routine, and especially if you're just teaching classes. But this is what I love about doing private sessions and one-on-one, because I can really work with you where you are that day, and not just from a physical standpoint, from a mental. It's a body-mind exercise. I mean, yoga, it tends to be known more as the woo-woo stuff, right? Because yoga means union, and it's body, mind, spirit, and we chant. I did all those things. And here, it does tend to gravitate toward the more physical. But I also throw in a moment of tranquille at the end, which is savasana. Mm-hmm. But because I feel like people are always moving around and they just don't take a moment out for themselves, or to thank themselves for coming in and doing something for themselves. To me, this is all, any kind of movement It's self-care, it's self-love, whether it's Pilates or whatever it is you want to do. And I mean that. I mean, sometimes people stop doing this, or they tell me, I want to do a little less of this and a little more of that. I'm like, it's all movement. I don't begrudge you. Do what your body is asking for intuitively. I'm not in your body. So, and then sometimes they come in here and I just intuitively do some exercise and people go, how'd you know? Well, it's a combination, I think, of intuition and years of watching bodies between massage and yoga and I worked with a chiropractor, I've worked with physios. So you just start to see the way people are holding their bodies. And then again, you give them what they need. That's why sometimes you come in here, maybe you need some Reiki, maybe you need a little massage, maybe I can see that your attachment on your shoulders turned in. So we'll spend a minute and I can just rub that little attachment. It releases everything. Now you're going to have a better, more fluid workout. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it's whatever you need.
I love it. And so why equipment versus mat Pilates?
That probably started more because I'm certified in mat. In my certification, that was your foundation. There was, in the beginning, a lot of exercises I could not do in mat that I could on the machine. And I fell in love with the equipment. Honestly, I can still do, but I taught yoga for years and that's a mat exercise. And when you're doing it yourself, I am getting older. When I was younger, when I was in my 30s and owned my studio, I would teach 18 classes a week and you do it in front of them, you do it with them. Mat Pilates is the same thing, you do it with them. In the reformer, I tell you what to do. I can teach all day long because I'm not doing it too. That would be way too hard on my body and mind. It would be too much. And so I feel like I love the way this was designed. I love especially the reformer. It's brilliant. Joseph Pilates invented this out of a cot. He was in a concentration camp and he was trying to help the other men that were there. So he took the springs and designed this ingenious bed, and I think a lot of people don't even realize where it comes from. Read up on Joseph Pilates, it's a fascinating history. I just fell in love with it. And to me, it's like recess. It's like being a kid again. I get to play. When I got my new Pilates chair, I'm like, now I get to do more exercises. And I have a ball, and I have a ring, and I always loved recess. I was always that kid that loved, and I was a dancer and a gymnast when I was a kid, and so it's just fun to me. It's just a preference. Because sometimes people come, should I do this or that? I'm like, do both. You don't have to, or do what you're feeling like in the moment. And sometimes if people come in here and I feel like they need more of a mat exercise, I go on the tower, which you're just not on the floor.
Yeah.
And there are things I do that are considered mat exercises. So it's fluid. But I just didn't resonate with it anymore. If it would have been a different time in my life, but like I said, I worked in a Pilates studio, a reformer Pilates studio in California when it was Balanced Body of all places, where it was the biggest maker of equipment. I was teaching yoga in a Pilates studio, and they asked me, do you want to come learn? And I was like, oh, I'm certified in everything. I'll pass right now. I just never did it. But then the universe brought me to my knees, literally, to the point where I had to do something, and it was time. Again, everything's timing. It's when you're ready, and this spoke to me. Will that change? Maybe. I don't know. Some people are like, are you gonna do this forever? I never say anything's forever because I don't know. Mm-hmm. If you would have told me a couple years ago that I would be owning a Pilates studio in Spain, I think you were crazy. I got offered at the Pilates group where I was teaching because I managed the woman who took me under her wing. She got cancer and she had 3 little kids. So I managed the studio for a couple months. The owner asked me if I wanted to buy it. And I could have, but I went through 2, not 1, but 2 hurricanes within 3 weeks that hit our area. And it was emotional and it was devastating, and I wasn't feeling it. And so I said no, and I let them know like 3 months in advance that I was leaving because I wanted them, and I'm like, I will help train whoever you want. I will do what I can to make this transition easy. So, yeah, where was I going with that? I forgot.
No, you're just reformer versus mat.
Yeah, I just like the toys.
Yeah. And I think that's like, from my perspective, what I like about it is you can surrender into it.
Yes. Because the springs, when it's spring loaded, because all the equipment in Pilates is spring loaded, you have resistance training, but it also assists you. So it's unique in equipment because it can, for instance, when I'm trying to do a bridge, I can prop my feet up here. It's a little easier for me to curl my tailbone under and lift my pelvis. When I put my feet in the straps, it helped. I do heavier springs in the beginning, and it lifted me up because I couldn't lift up before. And I was like, hey! And then the stronger I got, the more I could decrease the spring. So I was doing it on my own. So it was a lot of trial and error, a lot of things I played around with that weren't necessarily taught. And I think that that's what Joseph Pilates would have wanted, is that you play with this. And that's how he innovated all this stuff. So yeah, I think all this, the spring training too, it's not as hard, it's low impact. So you're not going to hurt yourself. Mm-hmm. And again, as someone who has a, big metal thing in my back, I'm mindful of that now. And it's amazing what I can do. Before I left, I taught advanced classes. I loved advanced classes, and I would do all these advanced exercises that I never really intended to be able to do. And I would show them, because in my yoga teacher training, I learned from a chiropractor, and I would teach in layers. So I'd say, if you're just starting, do this. And then I'd have to think anatomically, what muscles are we trying to work to be able to get to an advanced level? And sometimes it's the muscles, sometimes it's mental, because on a reformer, sometimes you're just up higher and people get scared. So then I ask myself, well, what can I do to help them ease into that? And so we'll do it on the box first, and then I just gradually move them up until they do, and they get so happy, and it's just so exciting to watch people. I've had people, oh my God, so many amazing stories. Just recently, a woman that was supposed to get hip surgery didn't have to anymore. A younger woman who went to every orthopedist, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with her foot, said she was going to need surgery, just a couple sessions of a reformer, because footwork is handy, and totally took away her foot pain. I mean, story after story. I had a young girl who just wanted better abs. She wanted a six-pack, so I'm like, let's do that. And then I was like looking at her abs, and she has this total six-pack, and I'm happy for her. I may not have the six-pack. I don't care. I'm happy for you that you got your six-pack. And she worked for it. She was motivated. She was open to try new things, because you see where people's fears are too sometimes, and I help them meet that. You want to respect it, but at the same time, if my goal is to assist you to that next level, then let's work with this. Let's get your abs.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So what do you think for you the most important part is? Like, so do you think you have to work out once a week? Do you have to, what's the commitment level to improving? And then do you prefer single people, doubles? Because I know you have 2 Pilates machines in here. So what do you recommend? And then what's your ideal session look like?
Okay. Ooh, good questions.
Yeah.
I get that question a lot with how many times you do it. The answer lies in what you can keep consistent. And it depends on your time and money. With unlimited time and funds, you could do Pilates every day. I just had a couple from Poland who, in Poland, they do Pilates every day. And they were like, is that bad? I'm like, do you feel good? They're like, we feel fantastic. I'm like, well, if you have the time and money to do it every day, it's not like weight training where you have to do legs one day, because you're working everything. And it's spring loaded, so you're stretching and strengthening at the same time. Ideally, if you can come once a week, you always come once a week, and you make a commitment to yourself, and you're consistent. And I say that because, of course, vacations happen, sickness happens, but with consistency, you'll build it. I have tons of clients that can only come once a week, a work schedule, whatever, but they come consistently every time, and they see results. If you can do twice a week, it'll double your results, because twice a week, I think personally, is the ideal, with a day in between. Because I also do believe that you should be doing strength training. I think that you need some form of cardiovascular activity. If people don't do that, I do have weights in here. I do have them do jump board for cardio. That's a Pilates cardio, which if you don't know what it is, it's like a laying down trampoline. There's ways you can fit cardio into Pilates, but I think, again, with time and money, ideally you're walking or riding or your bike or dancing on your way here.
Yeah.
That's your cardio. If you did it here and back, then you've got your workout. Dumbbells and reformer are a match made in heaven. They feel a lot heavier when you're combining them. And it's because, especially if you do it unilaterally, your core is fighting for balance. And so all those core stabilizers are fighting. And so now you're really working your core, which of course helps your back, and you're getting muscles. So to me, I love adding. Not every teacher does that. I believe in weights. I love a gym. And I think that, again, you should probably have a combination and always have a rest day. It depends on your schedule. You know, I have people who come 3 times a week and they love it. And then that kind of works out because every now and then they have to go somewhere or they get sick or things happen with life. And so that way at least you've got your 2 in. But it really is the consistency. So I know sometimes people are resistant to like schedule with me in the future. And I'm like, well, A, I'm getting busy now. You kind of have to or somebody else is going to get your spot. But beyond that, then it's a commitment to you. It's like once you put something in your appointment book, you tend to go. Mm-hmm. So that's the great thing about private sessions. Duets, I adore. I think it's wonderful. I just had a mother-daughter team today for the first time to come together. And it was just so special. I just kept catching the mom looking at her daughter adoringly. And her daughter just had a baby, a girl. And so you just felt, I don't know, it depends on the dynamic. Obviously, I have husband and wives, I have friends, but you're keeping each other accountable, and it's fun, and you know each other. So you have that connection already. You can go after for a coffee or a tea. You make it an experience. So I love doing duets. Why I wanted to invest in another machine. I don't do classes. It's not that I'm against classes. I taught a bazillion of them. It's a different energy. You need more equipment, obviously. Bigger space. I personally wasn't ready for that kind of a commitment yet, and hiring more teachers, because then that would require hiring more teachers. But in a class, usually, you know, if you, like I taught 5 people at a time. I worked in one place that was 12, and I couldn't really keep an eye on everyone. It's fine if you're young, no injuries. You know, if everybody's like 18 years old and flexible, it's fine. And I loved it. I love teaching classes. There's this diva in me that lights up when I get in front of classes too. But I think from what I've been through, working one-on-one with people is just really its own kind of special. Yeah. And what was the other question you asked?
The ideal. I think you got that.
Yeah.
And so then my next question is what's the, so if you've never been in Pilates,
yes,
you don't exercise, you're not really an exerciser or anything like that, or even if you have, what's the steps to try out Pilates and to understand if it is a fit?
Yes. Well, at my studio, I offer always a free 30-minute introduction for a number of reasons. I always offered this, and I didn't get paid for it at the studios before. They thought I was crazy. I think you have to try it. I think the machines can look intimidating if you don't know what they do. They did to me, and I always have the mind of a beginner. And I just think it's a great way to see if you like my style and if I want to work with you, if it's a good personality fit for each other. I have one client in particular I'm thinking of she's my same age, I'm 57, never worked out in her entire life in a gym, and was very nervous coming in. And she has been coming once a week, had all kinds of benefits. Now she does twice a week. She's absolutely amazing. She's motivated. She's happy. She tells me every single time, I love this so much. I love this so much. And then sometimes there's this, I wish I would have done this a long time ago. And nope, You come to it when you're ready. Here's the thing, it might not be a great fit for everyone. That's why I let you try it. So I've done a gazillion introductions. I show the machine, like I tell you, this is what each piece is, because sometimes I would go to classes and no one would explain it. And if you're a beginner, you're terrified and you're lost and you don't know what you're doing. So I even empower people, if you don't go to me and you want to go to a class, it's cheaper, then I'm going to show you, this is where the strap goes, because I can't tell you how many times people are on their back, they're like, where are they looking like a turtle on their back? Where's the strap? I'm like, it's right here. And so I start with all the classics. I'm classically trained, but I'm a contemporary teacher, just like my teacher. What that means is, it's like yoga. Like I studied Ashtanga, which is, very systematic way of doing yoga. But then later on, I taught what's called Vinyasa Flow, because I would go to workshops and I would incorporate something I learned here and there, and maybe it was a little yin yoga, and maybe, not everyone had the strength or stamina to do Ashtanga. And so again, I'm working with the body in front of me, so I'd have to mix it up. And people would say, well, what kind of yoga is that? And I'm like, it's Michelle, at the time, Paisley yoga, because it was my blend of intuitively whatever anyone needed. And so I feel like when people come in here, I like to honor that they know they're terrified. And a lot of people apologize a lot. Like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, you don't have to apologize. You're a beginner. You've never done this before. Because sometimes you'll clank the machine in. It's commercial grade equipment. You're not going to break it. Mm-hmm. But I think what's good about me is I always think like a beginner. I remember what it was like. And I had to come in with not even being able to move anything, and just talk about being patient and having small little wins. And so I'm good at like having people slow down and really honor, and I point out, like, do you remember that a month ago you couldn't do this? Because people forget. I see the tremendous growth, but often they don't see it. And that's why I call it Mpower Yoga. I mean, yes, Michelle, I thought that was cute. But really my goal is to empower you in whatever that looks like. And so part of that is working with beginners. Now, not everyone likes that. Sometimes people, when I worked at the studios, they would give me all the beginners. I'm like, bring them my way. Because, you have to slow down. You have to teach them all the basics. But, I have 2 kids. It's like parenting. It's like we start here and stay with me long enough, and then we advance. And as you watched with your own practice, then it grows. And then I'm like, now we can play. Now that I can see that maybe you have a good, it's called control stretch in Pilates, it's plank on the reformer. Now that I can see that your core and back are strong enough, now let's add this fun little variation. And so I choreograph new sequences all the time, because I have a dance background, and I think it gets boring, and I think your body adapts. Now there's teachers that are purely classical, and they'll say, we only teach the classics, and I'm like, good for you. I do not. Again, I start there, I make sure you're safe, and then I'll say, we're gonna do these 4 moves. And I learned that it's a good idea to do like the 80-20 rule, or the 60-40, where 80% of it's the classics and you're gaining mastery and you're gaining confidence and expertise. But the rest of it, your body's gonna adapt to it, and now you're not even gonna break a sweat. And the body's always evolving and adapting. And so I would like to think if Joseph Pilates were still alive, he'd still be innovating. He did his whole life. He was always inventing things. I mean, the magic circle was from a beer barrel, because he drank beer. The guy into core strength, but that's where it came from. So he was always had his head, like, how could I expand this? And so I try to think like that, like, how can I expand their practice? How can I take them here? And then it's fun for me too. It doesn't get boring, because I like to challenge myself. I want to keep learning as I get older and keep my mind challenged. And so I play with it. I practice every flow myself first, because sometimes you steal it off of Instagram and it looks way easier than it is. And I'll do some of it, and then I'll kind of try it with people. I'm like, this is just not going to work. And so you just have to experiment a little bit. But I try and get, they call them flows in Pilates, that everyone can do. And then if I have, and lately I've been expanding because I have people of all different levels. So I'm like, okay, what can my more advanced students do? And then I teach that flow. What can my, injured clients do? And then I do that flow. And then of course, I've been doing it long enough now that I'm like, oh, I did that sequence 2 years ago. I think that would be perfect right now. So my brain's like a computer, and sometimes I'm like, okay, well, let's Google search where this particular exercise. And sometimes I like make stuff up. Like sometimes I'm playing in here and I'm like, like I showed you with I do open leg happy baby. I was in here one day, in the old studio, and I was just rocking back and forth. I'm like, God, that feels good. So I started doing it with a client, and they're like, God, that feels good. And so I also like to pay attention to when people say, wow, that feels good. Because that tends to be universal. And so then when people are, how'd you learn that? I'm like, I made it up. So that's fun. That's fun for me. It's evolving all the time.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's one more I was going to ask you. Maybe not. What was that? Oh, if you're visiting from the area, what's it look like to book a session? Is there a possibility, or is it only for locals, or is it for anybody, or what's it like?
It's for anybody and everybody. So I love drop-ins. Not every studio takes drop-ins. To me, it kind of fills the gaps. Like for a Christmas break, a lot of my locals were on vacation, and a lot of people were here visiting from other countries, and a lot of people have second homes here. And that's just absolutely a thing. So I have 2 of my clients coming back from Holland next week that were gone during Christmas. And I fit you where I can. I now have an automated system, so I'm fancy. So if you go on my website, mpowerpilates.es, there's giant green book now buttons everywhere. It's easy, right? You hit book now and it walks you through. You do not have to pay at the time. I'm being nice. You pay me in person. But please don't do a last minute cancellation unless you're truly sick or there's a true emergency. But yes, you can book it online if you get stuck, or if you just have a last minute, like I know you like to do last minute ones. You can WhatsApp me, +34 662 472021. It's all over my website. WhatsApp's better, especially with languages. And languages. I have clients, again, I'm learning Spanish. I have Spanish only clients, and we make it work. I teach them English, they teach me Spanish, it's win-win. I have a woman from Belgium that only speaks Italian and French. I took French in high school, and I knew Italian as a baby, and we're both learning Spanish, so we do a little bit of everything, and we speak the language of Pilates. So I will never turn you away for lack of language. The only thing is, if you have some sort of medical thing, I'm not a doctor, by all means, get approval from your doctor. Make sure that it's safe for you to do this exercise, and then tell me, because I can work with it, but sometimes I need to study up and see, okay, how can I work around this particular injury? So, and if I can't, I'll tell you. I mean, maybe I'm not the person for you because maybe you need to go to a physio or something. But I will never turn anyone away. And I don't care if you are, it doesn't matter. Come to me for who you are. Because a lot of people, if they're really overweight, they're scared to come in here. I'm like, I have dealt with weight issues my entire life. I want to empower you to feel the best you can in your body. And that's another question I get. Can I lose weight from Pilates? You can, but with any form of exercise, because I also have a certification in nutrition, it's like 80% diet and 20% exercise. Mm-hmm. So, and everybody knows how they're supposed to eat. So I'm not here to lecture anybody, and we all overdo it over the holidays. You do the best you can. Mm-hmm. You eat healthy, try and eat good foods that make you feel good. The more you exercise, ironically, the more you want to eat better. It kind of goes hand in hand. And yes, you can with any kind of exercise. You tone up, you notice the toning up right away. It's a very quick acting results exercise, which I love. You notice it in your core, you notice it in your posture, you notice it in your flexibility, you notice it in your confidence. You feel better overall, you have more energy, you sleep better. All those things are huge, and that's, I think, the thing, the older I get, the more I focus on that than the number on the scale. It's how are you feeling? I get a lot of people like, my jeans are loose. Well, you're losing it in your core. So, or it just feels like my body's shrink wrapped. And it's just a good feeling. So never be afraid that you cannot come in here for whatever reason. Again, use the 30-minute trial. See how it feels for you. If you still don't like it, maybe you're not ready, or maybe it's not for you. Or maybe you love it. Most people, I would say probably 95% of people come in here and they're like, oh my God, where's this been my whole life? Like I did. But then I probably attract those too.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Because I love it. I'm obsessed. It's my passion. This does not feel like a job. It just feels like I'm just supposed to be doing this, especially at this stage in my life. And of course, I'm also a writer. That's also my calling. I've written 6 books. I've written a 7th. I'm in the process of attracting my next publisher. I already had a publisher, but I feel like I'm in the process of attracting a new one. So people are like, how do you do that? Well, writing is very introspective, right? And I am more of an extrovert. And so I require both. I'm an ambivert, because when I'm energized about something, I love it, but I also need alone time to meditate and be quiet. And so I need both. And so I wake up, I meditate. Writing's natural for me. I was also a journalist for many years ago. I was an English major in high school. I've always written. It's my way of expressing. But if I sit too long in a chair, I need to move. And so it's the ideal combo for me. And I'm not going to sit and write all day. When I write for an hour. That's it. If I were to only write, what else would I do with the rest of my day? So yes, I have 2 callings. And who's to say you're supposed to have one? You could have 7 callings. But those are my 2. It's always been movement and writing. Those are my ways of forms of self-expression.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Michelle.
Well, thank you, Anne-Marie.
That was fun.
Lovely speaking with you.
You too. Good job. High fives. Mpower Pilates, everyone. You heard it here first.
You heard it here.